Oh, welcome. I hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't know if anybody's even listening or like these voices in the background. Makes them feel virtually not alone. Your host, General Griswold Gaius, chairman of the First Law Regression Protocol and a member of the Fraternal Regiment embodying narcissistic sociopathy. On behalf of the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency, I as with the film. We have some all-stars in the hive mind today. 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 Well then, let's what do you say? What do you say we
And I want to read a passage.
Autoplay yourself. Autoplay yourself, Alan Watts. Did I take the train out because I play it too much? I don't. We're putting it back. Me. Oh dear. Spatch, McMo, Slack, Doc, Stumps, Dolly, Neil, Anselman, hello, Embody, Cassandra, good morning, welcome. Slack pointed out that it's Frigga morning, but Frigga can frig off, because this stream has been a long time in the coming of, the making of, and overdoeness. And so we're going to do it today. This is the Christian Unapologetics stream. We'll be focusing on some guy named Peter Jones. And I have done absolutely no due diligence on either him or the Ligonier Ministries, from which we will be playing the clips and doing the commentary thereof. But I'm not going to apologize for that either. The Blue Church might be particularly offended by this stream, and as such will call for their card for the show, and that's going to be the the six of spades for them. And let's get the casino folks one ready while we play this branding. Good morning, Embody. This might break your ears. I don't. See, what happened is Lance had made that really cool promo, and then I got monetized, and it became important whether or not the copyright ad people took all of the commercial money, and the song Lance had used is one of those songs. So Chad went in there and he roughed it up enough that the thing doesn't recognize it anymore. But I don't know if it roughed it up too much for your ear holes. Casino card is the 5 of diamonds today. Welcome, everybody. Hey, you know, we're almost to the part where I do the savings throws. But first, let's see what these comments over here are saying.
Remember, there is no agency. We want what's best.
Well, it seems like the comments over there are people claiming their +2 bonus to the savings throws by saying what savings throws are going to be choosing now that we're at the choosing the savings throws part of the show. Don't forget, they've committed now publicly to you. Those are their choices. And what we're doing is a savings throw against the mind control, because on this show and even in just the advertisements, you know, there's this you're swimming in it. It's the water you swim in. Like the old fish swimming by the 2 little fish, and he's like, "How's the water, boys?" And they're like, "What the f- is water?" That's you in mind control. But here we give you a savings throw against it, and to participate, you choose between survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Now I have a survival die that's currently missing, so we're having the orange die stand in. But you choose survival, social, wisdom, or heart. And if it's over 10, you take half damage from the mind control that follows. And if it's under 10, you take full damage. But remember, everybody, we want what's best for you. Survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Choose. And whoa, we have a special result today, ladies and gentlemen. But first, the survivalists coming in strong with an 18. 18 there. Also, matching is their socialists, an 18 as well. Lovers of wisdom. This one's going to get through to you. It's a 2 for you. And hard, folks, you got your 4 chambers, timesing the 4 chambers is 16 on your savings throw today. But the special result is the indigo kids have got a nat 20, which means you get to see the indigo die. And there it is. Behold the indigo die. All right, there's the savings throws for today. Remember, everybody, I play a lot of branding.
You're crushing me, people. You're crushing me. I'm big, but I'm not that big.
The list?
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room? I want to cast Magic Missile.
The room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile.
Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Now, if I can remember it, the rocket emoji is officially the magic missile emoji, and you guys have been knowing it a long time before me. I hear now that I'm over 1,000, I can do special things with emojis and avatars and stuff, but I haven't still looked into it. Before we get into the the Christian unapologetics that are the title of this stream, and the underlying secular paganism we talk about as well. First, I want to make a stop, and we have an update from our good friend over at Friday Morning Nameless, and here's a little fascinating highlight from his today's release. From his release today, today's release.
This prospecting village was nothing more than a few tents and log camps. It was situated in the midst of a vast, dense forest, still considered by most to be impassable and unforgiving. But word of great iron ore finds was spreading throughout the country. In that same year, 2 brothers from Ashland, Wisconsin, Jay and Everest Hayes, purchased options on the land of the first dig of Norian wood in Section 22, the dig that was abandoned the previous year. How they purchased this property is just as unusual and unlikely as the little village itself. Mary Folsom Hayes, the mother of Jay and Everest, was said to have the power. A spiritual revelation at the age of 27 left her speaking in tongues. As she put it, she began to speak French, German, and Polish, although she had no formal training in any foreign language. She felt compelled to preach, heal the sick, and follow the direction of the power. The power, she said, directed her to call on people or go to places without any notion of why she was needed. The power would inevitably...
Yada, yada, yada. Tells her to buy a mine. Actually, I couldn't help after watching Chad's coverage of Ironwood think that maybe we should go colonize. Build a little commune out there. And the power sounds like kayfabe to a lot of people. Welcome, everybody. This is the Secular Paganism Christian Unapologetics stream. We'll be doing basically a commentary on a presentation by a man named Peter Jones from 8 years ago. And we'll see how his predictions turned out. Hey, it's Dog Bark live in the chat. Good to see you. Frequent commenter for the +5 bonuses you get to commenting on the replays. But now actually live in the chat. Okay, let's see. Yes, we're going to let Peter Jones introduce himself. That's not him. This is him.
I always say, don't clap, just throw money. But I enjoyed the clapping. It was very warm.
You can see why he wormed his way into my art almost immediately.
Now what'll that asshole think of next? Is anybody got a dime?
But that's not the actual speech, the presentation we're covering. Here's that one instead. There, we can close that now, and then this guy.
Gnosticism is both a specific ancient heresy that the church already faced and defeated, but that it is also the essence of the revival of religious paganism, which has the goal of creating a new pagan planetary civilization where the Christian message will be snuffed out if they can do it. That's threatening the church, and that's not new. I lived in France. In fact, in a week's time, I will be in Lyon, in central France, and it was there that one of the first great anti-Gnostic church fathers, Irenaeus, was bishop. And just before he got
Rock me, Irenaeus.
There, the Romans in Lyon put to death 42 Christians in the arena. And what struck me as I visited that place some years ago was this, that the struggle for truth was both inside the church and outside. And that Irenaeus and those Christians faithful to the Word of God were fighting Gnosticism, paganism within the church, and also outside of the church in the culture around them. And I believe that that is what is happening today, and I hope that that perspective will help us as we understand what we're hearing about what is happening in the church, that is a reflection on what is happening in the culture at large. So that's what I want you to take away.
You gotta admire the rhetorical tactic of opening with what you want people to take away. I really like it. Red Pill says, why does everyone hate on Gnostics? Well, sir, I hope to answer that question by the end of today's stream. I hope that's what we'll get to at the bottom. The bottom of it there. Wait. Okay, I played that out of sequence. This was the one I was supposed to play first. Son of a... More introduction, sorry.
I suppose I was given this topic, the Gnostic Gospel, because in 1992, I wrote the book, The Gnostic Empire Strikes Back. It's the only book of mine that R.C. has endorsed. Indeed, it's the only book he's ever read of mine. But that's okay. He still remembers that.
All right. And so I did a little bit of that due dilettantery, and looked up the book there. It goes like this: militant feminism, Eastern religion, homosexual rights, nature worship, political correctness. What do these have in common? Gay rights are promoted in popular magazines, public radio, and Hollywood. Feminist spirituality is making inroads into Christianity. Christian students are being silenced in the name of religious tolerance. Mystical techniques for achieving well-being and self-knowledge are being adopted in the business world and military. Merely coincidental trends? Peter Jones says no. They are expressions of an ancient heresy reasserting itself today, documenting how Gnosticism, a heresy of self-deification, that is like the Gnosticism that gets hated on lunch is the self-deification kind. It comes in so many different flavors, but that's the one we're hating on as a heresy here today. It is returned with a vengeance in the New Age movement. Jones calls the church to spiritual warfare as the Gnostic Empire strikes back. And then that part you just saw about the first bit I played.
What about ancient Gnosticism? My New Testament studies set me up for this lecture. While everyone was watching the Allied assault on Germany, I was not doing New Testament studies then, and hoping for a quick end to World War II, an Egyptian peasant by the name of Muhammad Ali was making a stupid.
Now let it be noted, I think he really underemphasizes what he says next.
Stupendous discovery, unearthing in 1945 near the Egyptian village of Nag Hammadi, Gnostic texts that come from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. And you know, their message was probably more earth-shaking than the events of the Second World War. Indeed.
That's the claim we need to evaluate. Was the uncovering of the Nag Hammadi text, and who uncovered them and where'd they go after they did uncover them? But was it more earth-shaking than World War II itself?
Indeed, you could almost say that the war for truth was beginning to work itself out in some kind of very public way in once Christian America from that time on. One of the most influential American New Testament scholars, James Robinson, and my own life intersects with all this.
This intersection of his own life. But the important part is a New Testament scholar, James Robinson.
And he published them. Who collected together these ancient Gnostic texts and published them. And in his introduction to the Nag Hammadi Library in English, he dismissed the attempt of the church to defend itself against this paganism as describing the bishops as prejudiced and short-sighted, myopic heresy hunters, he called them. And you know, that's still the way liberals try to present us. President Obama, speaking to a group of homosexuals in the White House a few weeks ago, said that those who oppose the homosexual agenda are holding on to, quote, worn arguments and old attitudes. I believe that homosexuality is actually the tip of the spear of this new civilization. And I could give a whole hour's lecture on that, but I don't have the time. I did give one, actually, if you're interested, at the Family Research Council in Washington a couple of weeks ago, and they have that online.
What? You gave a lecture on how homosexuality is the tip of the spear at the Family Research Council? Why, sir, are you unaware? Are you unaware that the SPLC listed the Family Research Council as an anti-LGBT hate group back in 2010 for its demonizing rhetoric about the LGBTQ community? Why, sir, the FRC, the Family Research Council portrays gay people. Hey, slow down. Portrays gay people as sick, evil, and perverted, incestuous, and a danger to the nation. It is linked to being gay with pedophilia, an incendiary claim that pours fuel on the fires of hate, but one that has been thoroughly debunked by the American Psychological Association. So, I don't know. Maybe it's dangerous for us to listen to this man, but I feel that even when in situations where it's dangerous to listen to people, we need to know, hey, Stephanie, that that we need to be aware of the tactics that those disinformation people and hate groups are using. So let's take a closer look.
So he opposed the attempt to describe Gnosticism as a heresy, and positively he suggested that these texts actually were able to explain what was happening in the culture of the 60s and the 70s. He incorrectly argued that those texts had much in common with primitive Christianity. And of course, it was argued that the Gospel of Thomas, which was one of those texts, was earlier than all the canonical Gospels. That's not at all true. He said that these texts had much in common with Eastern religions and holy men of all times, thus giving a little push to the growing interfaith movement that was starting in the 60s and the 70s. And this is the interesting thing he says. These texts have much in common with the counterculture movements coming from the 60s. Isn't that most interesting? When the hippies went east and the gurus come west, when they sought to liberate spirituality and sexuality from the boundaries of classic Christianity, these texts arrive, redefining the so-called the nature of Christianity. And it seems to me that what we have actually seen in this very short span of time, in one generation, that the agenda of the hippies on the West Coast have become public policy for the nation at the beginning of the 21st century.
Now, again, I would like to point out that this video here is from 8 years ago, and recently I've come recommended. There's this guy I follow on the X Twitter, who's like a big fanboy of Brett, and I think that's why I follow him. But he was pimping this pretty hard, and here's a section of it. And it relates to this claim that Mr. Jones just made.
Short span of time, in one generation, that the agenda of the hippies on the West Coast have become public policy for the nation at the beginning of the 21st century.
Two really good stories. You might not even believe them because they're so outlandish. Does everyone know who Epic is? It's hard to know because they're not public. It's a very large private company in Wisconsin that is the largest player in medical EHR software, medical records. And this is their CEO.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Faulkner. Now, get the year right, 2009, Obama put her on his health IT council. She was the only corporate representative. Should not surprise you that she's a major donor to Obama. Now, Obama passed the American Recovery Act. That was his big piece of stimulus, kind of like Biden's Inflation Act that happened recently. And tucked underneath that, easy to hide in this big bill, is an act that was, the acronym's high tech. It's this health information technology thing. And then they created an agency called ONC that oversaw it. Now, this is the part you're not going to believe. They came up with a brilliant idea. I have to assume she helped encourage this. Doctors would receive $44,000 each if they bought software. $38 billion. This is true. You can look it up. I'm not making it up. $44,000, give it to a doctor, implement some software. Many of you run companies, that'd be pretty cool, right? The government passed a law. If they buy your software, they get money. Make it a lot easier. Now, you may be thinking, are doctors needy? But here's the catch. You remember, this happened because of the mortgage meltdown. Doctors own multiple homes, so they have multiple mortgages. So they probably needed the assistant. Now, there's two more things about this act that are also unbelievable. First, there's a flaw. If someone said, yeah, I'm going to pay people to buy software, most people would be like, well.
All right, I'll leave the link in the description after the stream if you want more of this wonderful, wonderful talk given by a guy with the unfortunate name of Bill Gurley. Bill Gurley. But,
that has been developing since the 60s. You know, I want to put what we've heard so wonderfully today in a broader context of what is happening in the culture at large. If you remember what I said about Irenaeus, that there is a sort of a connection between the outside and the inside. And if we don't understand what's happening outside, I fear that we won't truly understand what's happening inside. Well, where do I see modern Gnosticism today? We're living in a time, we are told, of pagan apocalypse, a time of unveiling where this so-called esoteric knowledge is coming out onto the surface and is being made available for everybody. Nobody is embarrassed anymore to call themselves esoteric or even occult. This has become normal spirituality. Peter Berger, the sociologist, speaks of the sacred canopy over a culture. It doesn't mean to say that everyone believes it implicitly, but there was a time when the sacred canopy was the Christian worldview. Now that canopy is being ripped away, and another kind of canopy is being put in its place. That ripping away, the unveiling, the apocalypse, I see in so many ways.
That's an interesting take, that the veiling the unveiling is the protective, like we're under Christ right now banner that everybody lived under up until recently. James Lindsay could learn a lot from this guy, I suppose. Lunch says, Gnosticism just describes any system of truth claiming that relies on special knowledge by an approved elite class, be they priests or pox. I finally get into sacred canopies and taboos. He delineates it pretty well. If we get there.
For instance, the Jewish CABAL used to be reserved only for the mature. Now it's being broadcast all over. The New Age people speak of the dawning of the age of Aquarius. The radical witches and feminists speak of the Sophianic millennium, the second coming of the goddess. The spiritual homosexuals predict the coming of eschatological Sodom.
The spiritual homosexuals predict the coming of eschatological Sodom? Eschatological, he said.
And you know, when you realize that between 61 and 75% of the population of the rising generation believes that homosexuality is a perfectly legal and valid lifestyle, you realize that this is not just poppycock.
Not just poppycock.
The Masons are going public. In December 28, 2009, the Grand Master for Pennsylvania said, we need to make Freemasonry more contemporary. 21st century Masonic Renaissance starts today. In other words, what Masonic thinking really wants to say now is being said clearly, and I found it very clearly said in Dan Brown's latest book, The Lost Symbol, where you find at the end of the book that the symbol that's discovered is the fact, quote, that the ancient mysteries, that is Gnosticism, and the Bible are the same. You see that? There's an attempt to bring all religions together under the rubric of these mystery religions, namely, of course, Gnosticism. Others see the Mayan calendar as decisive for our future. The Christian emergence speak of a deep shift or the great emergence. Apocalyptic Buddhists speak of the coming of Maitreya. Carl Jung, the great Gnostic, had a book.
Carl Jung, the great Gnostic.
Comes only through unprejudiced objectivity. This sounds almost like a scientific precept.
I don't know, that's probably not the best clip to play from that, but it just randomly followed that last thing I played. So, what? Are we still on this tab? No, that was no. Okay, and then we did that, and then, oh, well, you know what? You know what you guys haven't had enough of recently? Good Slacarius, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Oh, agency. If we're on the agency, we got to have a shanty before we get back into it. We all know that there is no agency any living gent can see doing what is right for me. Just lifting up my bro so he can grow some eyes to see that doing what is right for me increases all our agency. All right, as we work our way through this Gnostic Gospel via Peter Jones and his Ligonier Ministries presentation 8 years ago, I'm happy to be joined by so many of you in the Hive Mind. Remember, if you engage in the Hive Mind chat today, you get a +2 on next stream saving throws. I'm gonna let him cover this. Here's why Jung was a Gnostic bit, and then we'll jump into the real breakdown of the battle. I think as he goes into it in his Christian Unapologetics, as I call it, and it makes it really hard to find if you call it that, because it's actually Peter Jones, a Gnostic Gospel, and if you search Unapologetic, you don't find it. But now maybe whatever. Here's why Jung is a Gnostic.
In other words, the modern Gnostics like James Robinson And just before him, Carl Jung, who was in love with the Gnostic texts, and actually the Jung Foundation owned some of these Nag Hammadi texts, saw the value of these texts as fitting the progressive culture that has been developing since the 60s. You know, I want to put what we've heard so wonderfully today in a broader context of what is happening in the culture at large.
Oh, we did that bit already, though, bro. You gotta go. When do you talk about Young, son of the Kabbalah and the witches and the Sodom, eschatological Sodom, Christian emergence. Here, this one. Here it is. Here, found it.
Had a book, the Red Book, that was kept for 70 years in archives by his family. That has been published this year. It's called the Red Book, and it shows very clearly the paranormal, occultic, shamanistic character of Jungian psychology. But the most telling, it seems to me, of all these movements now up on the surface is what's called the perennial philosophy. It's believed that this perennial philosophy, that is to say, this philosophy that's always been there, is at the very core of all religions, that there is a deep level of agreement between all the religions, and that it is a subterranean stream that is now appearing on the surface. And what is interesting is that we should have had him speak here, actually. It's too bad. The Gnostic Bishop of Los Angeles. Why didn't we think of inviting him, Ellen? Of the Ecclesia Gnostica of Los Angeles, says that the perennial philosophy is another term for Gnosticism, ancient and modern. So very subtly, you see, ancient Gnosticism is back with us as this underground stream of eternal, endless truth about religion. Well, what does this perennial or Gnostic philosophy say? What's its good news? Well, the good news is, first of all, the good news about God.
All right, that's not the part. Let's go. Oh, it is the part. Son of a.
God is the Father of the totalities. That is, He is the all. And God joins the opposites. You notice the title of the book I'm bringing out, One or Two. You don't join everything into one. You need to see a world of difference. Well, the God of Gnosticism, ancient and modern, wants to join the opposites. Often
it's gone off the rails, guys, because this was supposed to happen already.
Term says that
this right here, like if I got the flash here and he lost the last 2 minutes, it's supposed to go like this.
Perennial philosophy is another term for Gnosticism, ancient and modern. So very subtly, you see, ancient Gnosticism is back with us as this underground stream of eternal, endless truth about religion.
Slime! What? It's a river of slime!
There, that's how that was supposed to go.
There is no agency. We want what's best.
All right, where are we at? The Gnostics, he had the book, and the guy's summit. All right, we're getting there. There was a part about Sophia at 15 minutes, right? This we can look at Michael Martin a little funny when he talks this way.
Self. This seeks to express the divine mystery of everything finally being one, everything joined together. Everything emanates from this divine spirit. And emanate is a term in the Gnostic text and is crucial because God doesn't create anything. Because true existence cannot be created. And if you're a Gnostic, you have this true creational existence. As Harold Bloom said, who became a Gnostic, he's professor of Shakespeare at Yale University. When he became a Gnostic, he said, I am eternal, as old, uncreated, as old as God. You see, that is the seduction of Gnosticism. It is the experience of coming to realize somehow with some kind of technique that you are as old as God, uncreated.
The crux of it, the crux of it. Neil says off the rails or outside of the box, in the realm of free-flowing synchronicities. But I did go look this part up.
And extremely intelligent and determined to work out this theory and bring it into practice. But there's one scholar I want you to note more than any other. His name is Ken Wilber. Into this triumphalist spirituality steps a new Gnostic prophet by the name of Ken Wilber, who wrote a book in 2001 entitled A Theory of Everything.
Hold on. We have in the Hive Mind chat, Stephanie says, what's his point? Can someone shortcut this and just tell me who I need to start fearing? Yes, that's what he's doing right now. It's this Ken Wilber fella. Check it out.
Ken Wilber wrote a book in 2001 entitled A Theory of Everything, an integral vision for business, politics, science, and spirituality. The new term, by the way, so that you don't look silly, is not New Age, but integral spirituality or progressive spirituality. These people don't like the New Age people because they were so focused on themselves, you see, because their agenda is now worldwide, and they don't want to be identified with some little small group anymore. So integral spirituality is at the head of this big push. Wilber asks the question and tries to answer it, how can everyone be right? And he tries to show that everybody is right. And he's produced a massive philosophy based on that. The universe is not winding down, it's winding up. And a new meta-narrative of deep religion with global consciousness will descend on a collective humanity. His system is based on what he calls holons. That is to say, everything is a whole. But as a holon, it...
Forgive me for getting serious again. But as we discovered in the rollback abortion stream, there's but why is the Whole Health Institute? And as we showed earlier in the stream with the clip from the Girly Man, the government is implementing these policies through healthcare initiatives and such. Like they're using the whole of the government and the whole of everything at their abusive, and it's because of this wholeness, I think, that
collective humanity. His system is based on what he calls holons. That is to say, everything is a whole, but as a holon, it can be integrated into another whole, and so you can build a holistic system by transcending and including. That's the term. You include something by transcending it. And so he lays out a whole transformation of human thinking. He has 9 phases. He calls the first 6 phases first-tier thinking. Archaic, magical, power gods, mythic order. That, by the way, is theism. Number 4. Scientific achievement is number 5. the sensitive self is number 6. Then you move to what he calls second-tier consciousness, and he and all his cohorts occupy phase 7, the integrative, followed by the universal holistic, and ultimately the integral holonic. You following me?
No, we've lost it. Let's see. Coincidentally, perhaps, when I came into what is lovingly referred to as full of tender loving care, it was through a venue known as the Sorting Myself Out channel, which has on it this Nosferatu Ken Wilbur himself. And since the sound on that one is so bad, while I will link it in the description, here's me attempting to give you a better sound version.
So a lot of the listeners on YouTube are learning a lot about growing up because we love Peterson.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give us to develop some of the other capacities, such as waking up and so on?
And that means in addition to your continuing to study and learn about growing up?
Yes, to taking responsibility,
right,
which I assume also falls under cleaning up a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, waking up, one of the sort of odd things about that is like so many of these things that we talk about when we talk about anything that can vaguely be called ultimate truth or ultimate ground of being or anything like that, is you probably heard enough discussions to know that really it's beyond opposites, that you can't really put it into, it's just this opposite and it's not that one. And so one of the things that can get complicated about that is because you're essentially trying to be as literally all-inclusive as possible, you tend to include both sides of the opposites. And those generate paradox. So a contradiction is simply, we have one statement that we know is true and this other statement it disagrees with, and that's false. So that's a contradiction, and that's the way it should be. But a paradox is we have two statements that are contradictory, but we know they're both true. And so somebody once said a paradox is the truth standing on its head trying to get attention. And I mention all of that because spiritual practice at its deepest core is paradoxical. And one of the first things that, when you have a really profound satori or awakening experience, is there are a couple of things. First, it's just the utter, absolute isness of everything that's arising, and that you fundamentally are that, you've always been that. It's this absolutely extraordinary ground of being. And then there are sort of little ways that almost start being reflections on that. One of those is being like, God, how did I miss this? I've known this my whole life. This is not new. I've known this. It's actually often called coming home. And one of the things that you're realizing is, okay, what am I actually realizing? Well, I'm realizing, to put it in fancy terms, a timeless, spaceless ground of all being. It's completely, totally ever present in every single point of space and time. And it was absolutely 100% present at every point for me in my entire life. I didn't even have to have a satori for that to happen. That's already there. But you have to have a satori to realize you don't need satori. Because...
Do you though? Do you? So that's the Ken Wilber fella. That's the Ken Wilber fella himself.
But believe me, this is not fooling around. This man is read by anybody who's anybody. It's Gnostic because the ultimate goal is integral spirituality, which is the direct spiritual experience of everything joined into one. I said this is not fooling around because he is being read right now by Bill Clinton, Al Gore, Tony Blair, George Bush, Jeb Bush, Gerard Schroeder, Thabo Mbeki, Jim Garrison of the State of the World Forum, Michael Lerner of TICUM, Deepak Chopra. Oh, this is a good one. Rajendra Pachauri, who is head of the United Nations IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They're working on getting his integral theories into climate change. His work is being read at Davos, the World Economic Forum, at the United Nations, and at UNICEF. They're developing institutes throughout the world of integral business, integral medicine, integral education, integral psychology. But his goal is staggering. Listen to this. Politically, this is what he wants to happen. The US Constitution was the culmination of first-tier governance philosophy. First tier means non-mystical. What the world now needs is the first genuinely second-tier or mystical form of political philosophy. We are awaiting the new global founding fathers and mothers who will frame an integral system of governance. You see, this.
Yes, Red Pill, that's kind of my point. Like Paul over here says, who reads Wilbur today? And today they're reading his disciple, the other, you guys know the Nosferatu from the WEF. What's his name? Come on, not Wilbur, but the new guy. No, not secular Cornism. It's Harari. He's the Harari guy they read now. Paul, it's second tier. They're on this. You seem to be in denial about the infiltration of the government and the healthcare system by these Gnostic philosophies, sir. Sir.
This is church and state totally collapsed into one. Well, how is this stuff doing? Transcend and include, I hear, said by a number of evangelicals. Some of them now call themselves ex-evangelicals. Tim King was interviewed by Spencer Burke.
All right. And I get that was the point of that I wanted to make. And then there was this one other bit way back here.
Lloyd Gearing, an apostate Presbyterian, yes, we do have some, argues that...
Wait a minute. He said apostate Presbyterian, which would indicate he might, and then said we. So maybe I can infer and not do the due diligence and determine that he's probably Presbyterian.
Tomorrow's culture will be post-Christian. He, first of all, in the 60s, simply denied the physical resurrection. And the New Zealand Presbyterians didn't take him to task for it. Now he denies the entirety of the Christian message, and he says this: the time for glorifying the Almighty God who supposedly rules is now over. And he predicts that sometime in the future, the calendar will be renamed and the year 2000 will be rechristened as the year 1 GE, global era. The Lord's Supper will be only significant human fellowship, and Christmas will be a family holiday. He says tomorrow's culture will be religiously pagan. Mother Earth will be the consciously chosen symbol referring to everything about the Earth's ecosystem. And he makes this observation. By the way, his work is being promoted by the Jesus Seminar.
By 2030, all Apple devices will have a net zero climate impact.
All of them?
All of them.
They better.
They will.
I'm attacking the darkness.
All right. And to wrap up this unapologetic Christianity stream about the secular paganism, I'll get to the secular paganism part in just a moment, but let's see how he wraps up his presentation.
Just a moment ago, entitled Hegel and the Hermetic Tradition, published by Cornell University Press, showing that actually Hegel was a deep believer in Hermeticism, which is a form of ancient Gnosticism. What immense power he had on the world. The medieval church, did you know this? The medieval church was in love with Hermeticism. You had statues of Hermes on cathedrals in the West because Hermeticism, a form of Gnosticism, fitted with the humanistic views of the Renaissance. In other words, liberalism down the centuries has adopted some form of Gnosticism to turn the Christian faith away from the truth. Little wonder Abraham Kuyper in the Stone Lectures said in 19...
There, that's why I wanted to include this bit, and I didn't even know Paul would be here.
Of Gnosticism to turn the Christian faith away from the truth. Little wonder Abraham Kuyper in the Stone Lectures said in 1898 that the conflict has always been and will be till the end, Christianity or paganism, the idols or the living God. Today we face a powerful form of Gnostic liberalism, a highly significant group of modern leaders who have rejected secular humanism, identify with this ancient pagan tradition. I found it promoted, for instance, by my future king, Prince Charles, who says this: the teaching of the perennial philosophy is the only way of solving the environmental crises of the 21st century. The Jungian psychologist June Singer, who actually calls homosexuality the sacrament of monism, says this, that the discovery of the Gnostic texts is only the vital opening act to a drama of cosmic proportions. Well, I
completely didn't play the part where he says that the Lucius Trust, which used to be the Lucifer Trust, has been controlling the UN meditation room since its inception. But that's apparently true.
Discouraged you, I'm sure. I'm doing it for a purpose. The time of just hanging around hoping things will get better if we do the same old, is over. We need to be positive, but we need to be realist, as the early church was. I believe that you, and especially your children, are facing opposition that's not been known in the West for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's why I think the Ligonier Academy and the Masters College and movements like that are doing something significant to train rising generations whose mouths are closed, by the way, because they're so intimidated by this politically correct, all is one, Rodney King, can't we all get along kind of thinking, that they're scared to open their mouths.
Yeah, well, if I was going to drop lines like that, I'd be scared too, pal. Oh.
What are we doing to teach them about the essential thinking that has built this so-called politically correct, unified, oneistic kind of thinking? I think our model has to be Daniel and his friends.
This part was particularly interesting to me as someone who doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to the Old Testament, because while I've never liked anyone in real life I've met that was named Daniel, the guy in the Bible named Daniel apparently was if you don't include the New Testament, that's probably my favorite guy. The David, but the second favorite, most I admire him the most out of the characters I know of in the Bible. Anyway.
who knew the pagan philosophies better than the magicians and enchanters, 10 times better.
Yeah, see, that's the whole notion I have with the defense against the dark arts thing, is that we learn this part.
Daniel and
we're
his friend
Daniel and
kind
his
of
friend.
thinking. I think our model has to be Daniel and his friends, who knew the pagan philosophies better than the magicians and enchanters, 10 times better. That's what we need to be doing in our education of the rising generation of Christians, is helping them to analyze what's happening so that they can bring the truth of the gospel of twoism to a world buying the lie of oneism.
Is that the difference? I mean, the oneism and the twoism is the create. It's like whether or not the creator is separate from creation is Christianity versus Gnosticism. Yeah? No. Yes? No. Is that accurate? Please let me know in the replay comments to get yourself a +5 to tomorrow's savings throws.
In a week, we will celebrate the resurrection. And pagans say, of course, that there is really no such thing as real existence, that's illusion. But all of them one day face death. And you know, the only gospel I know to meet the human situation is the empty tomb, where God the creator of matter, will not let it finally rot in the grave, but raise it to newness of life as the first proof of a coming new heavens and earth.
Well, that's the thing, right? I'm like, hey, guys, I'm here to bring salt water to your estuary. Your Christians should be able to deal with this thing and the Nagamadi and this. All of these things. I'm like, hey, guys, you can't just Ned Flanders your way through this anymore. You're about to be fed to lions again. I
believe that if everyone sees what just a few people become when they wholly embrace their gifts, others will awaken.
No, Paul, I can't be considered a Christian because I don't trust the Old Testament fella, and I'm kind of lost and alone out here. It's like I don't know why you Christians are attached to that, but that Jesus guy is all right, and I don't know, eat a lion, folks. Help me eat a lion. I'm tired of being cursed. What? Yeah, I'm a big fan of parts of the Gospel of Thomas, and I don't know what to do with it. Except it's a thing, you know. We're as far as I know, everybody else was just born into this and has to figure out what's true or false. The same as me, you know. I don't know. Maybe you guys have some secret knowledge, but I don't know. I don't know whether or not there's a oneness of creation, because the whole like Higgs field being made of love makes the most sense to me, and that I don't know that the creator being separate from creation is necessary, but I also don't think that there's not a creator. So I don't know what I believe, but I know there's some things we should watch out for, and people that feed on us. And that whatever, man. Just remember it.
There is no agency. We want
Do you have anything you want to say in conclusion?
Like Daniel and his friends.
Yes, I do. I want to say that if there is spiritual warfare, like if you're comfortable you might be on the wrong side, or no. Did when the man was talking about like some of the things, like the predictions these people were making, he was saying things like by 2030 and by 2050. And what I would like to bring to your attention is that while you're new and fresh and a pup and just trying to figure this out, there are organizations with century-long plans. There are organizations with groups with, like, those kind of plans. And if we don't have those kind of plans ourselves, we're going to get run over. So as we cling together in the sea of information, as fire ants in a flood, trying to keep those that need to stay above water, I don't know. There's maybe we should extend our vision to at least to know that what we're dealing with are centuries old schemes, and we're severely disadvantaged.
Is everything all right in here?
Yes, Nanny.
Yeah, it's fine, Nanny. It's fine. Now, I gotta. It looks like the hive mind's been active, and I don't want to bounce without. So, did we do this one yet? I think I'll wrap this up with the lovely sentiment from Paul Vanderklay in the Hive Mind. The group plans are nothing compared to the principalities working through those groups. Jesus defeated those principalities. Oh yeah. I always forget the victory. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird?
I'm attacking the darkness.